welcome to Royally Unfiltered, the show that takes you behind palace gates like never before. This week, helping me tackle all the biggest headlines is royal commentator Rupert Bell and world-renowned royal author Hugo Vickers. Thank you so much for being here to the both of you. I do have a power panel today, some exclusive behind-the-scenes insight. I'm being dramatic, but Hugo, you've met and worked with a little bit Stephen Colbert, and I feel like this is the story everybody will be talking about for the next 48 hours. Harry's appearance on Stephen Colbert. Talk to me a little bit about what your experience was with Colbert, because clearly he has an interest in the British royal family.
He does. I was summoned over from England in 2011 to, as it were, train him for what might happen if he was invited to the wedding of William and Catherine. And of course, he likes slapstick. And as you know, Kinsey, I have absolutely no sense of humor whatsoever. So it's very easy for me to be the fall guy. And I kept a very straight face when talking to him. But I definitely had my Andy Warhol 15 minutes of fame because we went through the whole process of, what he would have to do if he met them, what he would wear, how he would hold his cup of tea, his little finger kept popping up, and all sorts of things. I don't know. This is such a family show that I can't actually
You
probably tell
can,
you.
you
I
can.
can.
Yeah.
Well, at one point, I asked him. I wore a very formal clothes. I wore stiff collar and an old school tie and things. And I asked him if he was proposing to rise to a stiffy on the day, and he wasn't quite sure whether I realized what I said. I knew exactly what I was saying. And he said, "Would that be appropriate?" And I said, "Yes, I think you should wear a stiff collar and so forth." And the other one, which came out, which was completely unscripted, was when we went to Brooks Brothers to see what clothes he was going to wear on the occasion. And he said, "Is there some etiquette as to which side a gentleman should dress? That way the tailors ask people." And I just said to him, "It's whichever way the cookie crumbles." So I think he quite enjoyed all that. He's a terribly nice man off screen. He couldn't be nicer. He's sympathetic and easy to talk to. Of course, when he goes onto the screen, he becomes a kind of maniac in a way. And so I decided that I knew he would want to be the funny guy. So I just kept staying in the background, and I was extremely severe with him and ticked him off about lots of things that he was getting wrong. But it's available somewhere on YouTube. I think you can see these episodes. There were 3 episodes about My Fair Colbert, as it was called at the time. It was great fun for me.
Oh, I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was. Rupert, he's right. We understand that Stephen Colbert is a completely different person off camera, but on camera, he accused the Prince of Wales of cheating on Catherine in the middle of her cancer battle. Now, it was a secret at the time when Colbert made these accusations during a monologue, but Rose, who is a very dear friend to both William and Catherine, as well as the king and queen, her husband is in their court, threatened to sue Colbert. She was so devastated by his accusations. Does it bother you at all that Prince Harry would go back and work with him after Colbert caused so much hurt and pain to his brother and sister-in-law?
Well, he did do the Spare interview, didn't he? So there's form, So he was out there dishing more dirt, wasn't he? So it's not a real surprise. The big question is why? That's the question you had. What's Harry think he's going to get out of it? Was it funny? Certainly not as funny as Hugo's comments that he's just made there, which shows that you do actually have a sense of humour, Hugo. And you've watched quite a lot of Carry On films by the sound of things, by what you've just said there. But he doesn't, that's the question that I actually want to know is why? Because, slagging off, the king line, we see these posters all over, not my king, which obviously direct references to President Trump, to come out with statements like that. It might seem funny, but that presumably, and they say that Colbert has a left-leaning audience. I wouldn't know whether that was true because I don't really watch the program, but it seems that may be where he gets laughs on that sort of area, being a bit of a Democrat supporter, I believe. But I just want to know why, what was the point? And it just seems a sort of cynical thing to do whilst we've got Meghan's disastrous program coming out. It's a deflection from that. It's also deflects away from what is a very important state visit that is going on as we speak, or has been going on. So it just strikes me as it's another cynical move by the Sussexes, and Colbert is an easy victim.
Victim. I think he's the instigator, but yeah, we're also going to
Well,
talk about...
no, victim, because he's been taken advantage of. Do you see what I'm saying? You know, he
I
may
don't
have
think
approached
he's
him,
been Colbert's show's been canceled. May 2026, Colbert closes. I mean, both, you know, something Colbert and Prince Harry have in common. They're in the unemployment line together. Okay. I think Colbert is trying to get quick hits to prove his value. So it's easier for him to slide into a streamer opportunity after they shut the doors on his late night show.
Well, you're over in the States. You would know more about that than we would, because I presume you can find his program on our myriad of satellite channels, but he's
And he
not on my
blames
radar.
Trump for losing that. So you're absolutely right when you talk about how there's politics involved. Colbert blames the president for losing his late night show. Speaking of the president, Hugo, during the campaign, he suggested that he would look into Prince Harry's immigration status. Now, once he was elected, he sat back and said, you know what? I have respect and I appreciate the king. I don't want to bring any trouble to any member of his family. Is Harry challenging that? Is Harry jeopardizing that by poking fun of a very sensitive president who does not have much of a sense of humor when it comes to people taking shots at him on Colbert?
Well, that's interesting. I mean, you don't want to prod an angry beast, do you? It's not a good idea. I don't know. I think as he was asking that question, I think Trump was thinking, he didn't want to give the king any more problems by forcing Harry out of America and back into England. This is presumably where he would have had to go to begin with anyway. I don't know that it really matters. I think what was going on anyway with the whole thing of him being on Colbert was just another of what we've talked about a million times. They just have to keep being in front of the public eye in whatever possible way they can do it, good or bad, ridiculous or sensible. And that was one of the more ridiculous ones, competing very well with what was going on in the neighbor's kitchen back in Montecito.
Does it bother you at all, Hugo, that there's this pattern of lack of loyalty when it comes to Harry and Meghan? CBS is the only American media outlet to run images of Diana dying in the back of her car. CBS also happens to be one of the networks Harry almost works exclusively with, between Colbert, James Corden, the Sunday morning TV show, their Oprah Winfrey interview, Jane Pauley interview. Harry spends a lot of time working with the same media entity that apparently shocked his family at the time when they ran images of his dying mother in the backseat of a car.
Well, it should worry him, but I don't suppose it does for a minute, because he probably put it out of his mind, and he just wants to get on the television in whatever way he can. That's what I think. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, but I suppose if you're in the media, you can't be ever saying, well, I'm not going to go on this program or that program because of something that happened before, because you cut out your opportunities, don't you? And I think
but Hugo, he is in the rare position of being able to have more power than you or I would.
You mean he get more influence to get on different programs? Yeah, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
so he shouldn't do it. He definitely shouldn't do it. But I think he's pretty callous about all these things. I mean, he doesn't really think anything through. If you think about it, I mean, it's anything he says on these programs is going to be picked over, and cleverer people than him will find things to object to, as we are doing even as we speak. And so, yeah, he should not do it. I mean, I actually, when I first saw it, I thought it was one of those ridiculous meme things that pops up, and that they'd somehow done an AI and, put him into the thing about begging and baking. Made no sense to me whatsoever. I mean, it just seemed to be ludicrous.
It is. Rupert, Hugo used the
I'm with Hugo though. I woke up this morning, suddenly, you think, well, I'd gone to bed with the sort of Thomas Markle news, and I think, what do we got now? I mean, I don't, it just, I keep being surprised, bewildered, and sort of, we almost should be sort of numb to it now and just say, here we go again. Here's something else that you wasn't on our bingo card this morning, that he would turn up on Stephen Colbert after going to Canada, and then he's desperate for appearing that he's suddenly the savior of comedy in the United States. I mean, it was certainly a surprise, and he's not got the self-awareness. We know there's not a lot that goes on between the ears, and that's half the problem. He probably thinks it's a good idea, and it's going to make him popular with a certain section of America. But I think by making that no king statement, well, he's lost half of America straight away, I would suggest.
Yeah, and there were boos in the audience as they were having that discussion too. Hey guys, I want to tell you about today's sponsor. A fresh start is possible. You may be carrying the same debt month after month, watching it get worse, but that only continues if nothing changes. PDS Debt has already helped hundreds of thousands of people rewrite their financial story and take control. Your turn starts now. Whether you're struggling with credit card, personal loans, or medical bills, PDS Debt offers custom options to help you get out of debt. They go beyond the numbers to understand your unique situation and build a personalized plan just for you. There's no minimum credit card required, and their mission is simple: help you save more, pay off debt faster, and finally put some money back where it belongs, your pocket. PDS Debt is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. They have thousands of 5-star Google reviews and hold a 5-star rating on Trustpilot because their program works, and every month you wait costs you more in interest and fees. The best time to start, well, it was yesterday. The second best is right now. This is the debt solution I would recommend to friends and family. Don't wait another month. Change your story in 30 seconds. Get your free personalized assessment and the best option for you at pdsdebt.com/Kinsey. That's pdsdebt.com/Kinsey. pdsdebt.com/Kinsey. Hugo mentioned the word callous, Rupert. I think that callous is a great way to describe going and pursuing a skit while your father-in-law's in the hospital. Here's what we know. Meghan's father, Thomas, was rushed to the hospital in the Philippines and is allegedly in intensive care. And I only say allegedly because I don't know if he's been moved from that in the last 12 hours. And by the time this airs, I don't know what his status will have been, but apparently he needed emergency surgery, according to the family. They said he underwent a 3-hour operation, and doctors are now planning a second procedure to remove a blood clot. His son says the situation became life-threatening and has asked for the public to keep their family in their thoughts as he fights for his life. And we know Meghan hasn't talked to her father since 2018. But Rupert, a little uncomfortable that Meghan is promoting a Christmas special while her brother is saying, I'm fearful that this is my father's last Christmas.
I think the program was always due to go out yesterday.
It was, but you know,
so
it's like, does the universe hate these two is basically what I'm trying to say.
I think it's more significant that she's posting those jokey Instagrams, knowing that's where I think the absolute horror, forget the Netflix program, which is a horror in its own right, but the doing that when you know your father allegedly is in a very serious look, we know he's not been well, but obviously something's happened. We don't know the full details, and it's wrong for us to speculate. But if he is seriously ill, and there's no reason to doubt what was coming out, then you think, why on earth? I mean, you just to show some jokey, rather poor taste sketch, taking off some program in England. It beggars belief that she thought that was something that would actually seem to be appropriate when there is obviously her father may be very seriously ill.
Hugo.
Well, we've had it all before, haven't we? We've had Oprah Winfrey going out when Prince Philip, aged 99, was in hospital having life-threatening operations. And as we know what happened to him, he died quite soon afterwards. And there was absolutely no attempt to withdraw that program or put it on ice at all while he was there. And so you can be absolutely certain that it caused a great deal of distress, certainly to the Queen. And you can be sure that in this case, it will be causing great distress to the other members of the Markle family. And I've always thought this is something which is waiting to come back and bite her in a big way, because if you don't reconcile with your father, if you have any heart at all, you're going to feel lousy later on. And she's made him utterly miserable. He's never seen his grandchildren. He was very, very good to her, as far as I can see, when she was growing up. I think we know that. And I've listened to pretty much most of the things that he says, and by and large, I would say that he's a very decent man. Of course, he's a broken man, but if you listen to what he actually says, he's very polite, he's very measured. Of course, the press twists it around in any way they can. But I just go back to asking, why did Prince Harry never meet him? Why was that prevented? And there can only be three reasons. I think I've said this before. One of them, that she's ashamed of him, which I hope is not the case. Two, of which he might have done something which we don't know about, which upset the family. Or three, she was worried that he might say something to Prince Harry which could put him off. Like, watch out. She's not the simpering little creature you see in front of you now. She's a harridan or something like that. I don't know. I mean, that seems to me to be a very powerful reason why she would keep the two of them apart, because he should have met him. And you normally do. I mean, they should have got him over to England, put him in a health farm in the Shetlands or somewhere, and Prince Harry should have gone up and had met him and had a chat. If he wasn't up to walking down the aisle, he should have been sitting there witnessing it, because he was very good to that girl on the way up, and she's been very bad to him on the way down.
It's so bizarre that you would expect your father to show up like the day before your wedding to meet your husband, your future husband, and his entire family, especially under the circumstances of it being such a prestigious institution. Wouldn't you want there to be some sort of slow phase in, Rupert?
The whole thing, Hugo, as you would agree, is just a disaster, because again, got the press were looking at tabloid things about the tailcoat and all this sort of stuff, and people were trying to get him to trip up, I think, which is a bit harsh, and that was unnecessary, because obviously here he is a man who's a hard-working part of the sort of Hollywood behind-the-scenes cameraman, and a sort of working behind-the-scenes work really hard to look after his daughter, and if we're led to believe, did most of the bringing up as well.
Yes.
So this is why it is so desperately sad, and this is why Kinsey, and I'm sure you've said it, the hypocrisy of the way Meghan goes around talking about family. But she is the least family-orientated person on a grander scale that you've ever wished to meet, because she has no relationship with her family. And as a result, Harry has no relationship with, maybe apart from maybe the odd one or two, but it's not on the kind of relationship that they used to have. So the buck stops with her. And as Hugo quite rightly says, if it does, if she has not been able to find time for a reconciliation, should the worst happen, then God rest her soul, because she won't be feeling very comfortable with that. I am absolutely sure, because I think through her childhood, she was very much dependent on her father.
This is a really unflattering pattern, Hugo, when it comes to this couple. I am so glad you brought up the Prince Philip thing. They were in the UK when Meghan accepting another trophy when Queen Elizabeth passed away, and they had no intention of seeing her while they were there. They are so incredibly selfish. And I had somebody reach out to me today and they said, how does the royal family react? I said, with dignity and grace. They keep showing up. They keep living this life of service. I said, it's the blatant contrast that just exists for anyone with common sense. The royal family shows up and they work for other people, and Harry and Meghan continue to try to draw attention to themselves. Do you agree that that's the way the royal family has to continue to function? Ignore it and just continue to show up.
Well, I think they've been very dignified and very clever to have done exactly that. And of course, I think it's this week that Catherine will be holding the great carol service in Westminster Abbey. And guess what? The Abbey will be full of people who have been chosen because they've been doing good works for others all through the year. They're selected very carefully and they'll be thrilled to be there and they will be recognized by her for their public service. And what you get instead in Montecito, you get this woman telling us that she's virtually invented Christmas. She's telling us that Christmas crackers, how they operate, as if I didn't know. I'm very glad to say I didn't know about gumbo because when I saw the bowl of gumbo, I thought, well, however lousy my Christmas is not going to be as bad as hers. Harry was holding a bowl, and I know what I'd have been doing with that bowl if I saw that stuff. Exactly. And I thought the whole thing was really shocking because that, and when you saw the clinking of the champagne glasses, I mean, there are a lot of people in the world who are suffering at the moment, very great hardship. And, that's not a soup kitchen and that's not a big carol service for all the workers coming together. I mean, Catherine's service will be spectacular and will be so appreciated. I mean, she's just got it spot on and it's all done for other people. And in this particular carol service, what I'm rather thrilled about is that she's also sensitive enough to be recognizing the young musicians that the Duchess of Kent, who died this year, had been helping. And that's a fantastic charity, Future Talent. I went to a concert the other night of theirs, and the youngsters coming out and doing these things. And Catherine taking that on showed enormous sensitivity, I think, to respect the recent loss of the Duchess and more importantly, in a way, through that, directing it to helping young people and getting them moving. I mean, the Duchess of Kent always said, get music into their little bodies when they're young and the rest all follows. I mean, it's just amazing. And I'm just sorry to go on about it, but it's a huge contrast.
No,
And
I
also,
totally agree.
and also, you look at what they're also doing this week, the state visit,
Yeah.
which is the primary function. You know, the third state visit of the year, which I don't know, people are saying is almost unprecedented in terms of the numbers, but that's been the focus this week. You know, Germany coming here for the state visit. I'm very pleased to say it was my former regiment providing the guard of honor at the Windsor Castle. So the Grenadier Guards were out in force doing their little bit. But more importantly, to see the royal family just getting on with what they were doing. Okay, it's a glittering occasion in Windsor Castle, and it looked absolutely spectacular. You saw the Prince and Princess of Wales, she wearing a tiara that was, I believe, designed by Prince Albert back in the day. So she looked absolutely amazing. The Queen and all that went with it. That was what just getting on and serving this country. Whilst at the other hand, we have the people from Montecito glad jumping around, producing a tacky Christmas program, and at the same time, Prince Harry appearing and looking equally as tacky on Stephen Colbert. Whilst the royal family are doing what is the important job for this country, which is being the front face for things like the state visit, because it's the soft power of the royal family that is basically the essential ingredient of what makes the royal family so important and why we still need a royal family.
Yeah, and Rupert, it's very fascinating because in 1958, the Queen, obviously on advice of the government, invited President Heuss of Germany to come over. That was only 13 years after the end of the war, and the British public weren't terribly happy about it. But Heuss was a wonderful man because he wasn't a Nazi. He'd been an academic. His books had been burnt during the war. So he was the ideal president to move Germany forward, into the new peace era. And the German press and the British press eventually said the Queen and the government were way ahead of everybody else. And the Queen in her speech, of course, made the point, we can't change the past, but we can build bridges to the future. We must get to know each other and make sure these things don't happen again. And later on in 1965, she and Prince Philip played a very long visit to Germany, to the Federal Republic. And over the years, they've done lots of other things too. And it was rather nice that the Duke of Kent, who's done a lot to do with Dresden and the restoration of Dresden, he'll be up at Coventry tomorrow to meet the German president who's going there. And actually, President Heuss gave the huge sum in those days of £5,000 towards the restoration of Coventry Cathedral. So exactly what you were saying, Rupert, this is all very important. And it takes a long time sometimes to reconcile and to build bridges again, but it's so worthwhile.
Hey guys, you know the saying, you can't make everyone happy. You're not chips and guac. Well, it was very likely written about today's sponsor, Masa Chips. Do you ever read the label on a typical bag of chips? It's often a science experiment of seed oils, MSG, artificial dyes, and mystery ingredients. Masa is part of a growing movement to bring back real food. Masa's chips contain just three ingredients: organic corn, sea salt, and 100% grass fed beef tallow. Not only do these chips avoid the bad stuff, they are crunchy and taste incredible too. Snacking on masa chips is nothing like eating regular chips. With masa, you feel satisfied, light, and energetic with no crash, bloat, or gross sluggish feeling afterwards. You won't find yourself binging and feeling hungry. Personally, my favorite flavor of masa is the original. It's clean and crisp. If you love masa, then you're definitely going to love Vandy Crisps. Vandy, Masa's sister company, makes the most delicious 3-ingredient potato chips I've ever had. My favorite flavor, smokehouse barbecue. How very Texan of me. Ready to give Masa or Vandy a try? Use code Kinsey for 25% off your first order at masachips.com or vandycrisp.com, or simply click the link in the video description or scan the QR code to claim this offer. Don't feel like ordering online? Masa and Vandy are now available nationwide at your local Sprouts supermarket. Stop by and pick up a couple of bags before they're gone. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the first German state visit in 27 years. Hugo,
Yeah,
is that correct?
it's a long time, yes, but I mean, but when Hoist came, there hadn't been one since 1907. So,
Mm.
it's 51 years, but obviously for obvious reasons, they'd had two world wars, in the middle between that. But so it's very important. It's hugely good, and I think the King's jokey speech with a little bit of German thrown in. He, by the way, is very popular in Germany. They love him over there because he's addressed the German Parliament in German, and he has a great following over there. So it's all to the good, and that's as Rupert was saying, that's their role.
Rupert?
Well, the only thing he did get wrong is that you seem to forget that we did win the 1966 World Cup. But
We
anyway,
did, we did.
yeah, well, we did, yeah. But sorry, Kinsey, that's a football World Cup reference. If you
Yeah.
just glaze over, but we have suffered at the hands of Germany on a football field. Although, for me personally, I did manage to see us beat Germany 5-1 in Munich in 2001. I was at that game, but so there was he took it was for comedic effect this because we haven't always suffered at the hands of Germany on the football field. But I get his drift and actually shows that the sense of humor and the soft touch. And it looked like the president of Germany is having an amazing time. Well, who wouldn't, basically? Trump is a sucker for it. And I'm sure the president of Germany is equally maybe overwhelmed, touched, because I think it was all bells and whistles. I don't know whether, well, Hugo, you don't look like you're in the country, so presumably you weren't at Windsor Castle last night. But I think it would have been a wonderful occasion to be at, with the great and the good of sort of both German people with great connections with both Germany and Great Britain there last night. So I think it would have been quite a treat to see him, particularly Windsor Castle festooned in Christmas finery and everything. It would have been I think a jaw-dropping moment as you walked into the stateroom last night. It would have been fantastic to be part of it.
It would have. Hugo, sorry to go back here, but we're talking about how incredible this state visit is, how witty and fun the king can be. A king that I mention it every time because I know other people forget, who regularly is seeking cancer treatment. Um, and I have seen in the last year the opinion pieces that say that the royal family really needs Prince Harry back, or he could be a valuable asset to the royal family. Last night on Stephen Colbert, I saw a liability. I saw somebody that, again, to use the word callous, the royal family, vulnerable is not the right word, but the Andrew Mountbatten Windsor saga has not been the height of 2025. The royal family, maybe they are in a vulnerable place. I don't know. But I just feel like if I were Prince Harry, I wouldn't do anything that would shine a negative light on them right now. I would respect that. Aside from this incredible state visit that we're seeing, I just want to be sensitive to the fact that my dad's had a tough few months on top of his cancer.
Yes, I think that, I've thought about the question of Prince Harry coming back. And of course, the point is he'd be a distraction, because wherever he goes and whatever he does, if he appears on a ludicrous television program, he gets a lot of publicity. So when he's in England, when he does pseudo-royal visits and things, you immediately get the cameras on him and saying, well, he's taking the light off Prince William, who happened that day to be somewhere else. And that is exactly what would happen. The royal family has to work as a team. The king is the most important person, and they're all there to support him and keep him going. And that would not be the case. And of course, you hinted about the Andrew Mountbatten Windsor thing. I think Prince Harry needs to be a little bit careful, because we've seen the king acting fairly, dare I say, ruthlessly to his brother. He has been, his name has been struck off the register of the Order of the Garter. That hasn't happened except to people high treason. Literally, it wasn't just like discreetly they took his banner down and just said, no, you're just not appearing anymore. He's out. So it can happen very easily, and it could happen to Prince Harry. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if there wasn't a move in that direction at some point because of the exploitation of the name. Prince Andrew, for better or for worse, did go quiet when he was told to step down. He stepped down, and we more or less never heard from him again. We saw the odd picture of him riding in the park. We've certainly heard a lot from Prince Harry, and I suspect we're going to hear a lot more. So I think he ought to be extremely careful. If I was his advisor, I'd say cool it. That's what I'd say.
Rupert, do you have a response to that? Do you think that Prince Harry has become a liability, or do you question some of the decisions he's making based on reports that he really is just so desperate to get back to the UK? Wouldn't you behave yourself?
Well, Hugo just said he's been bribed by his visor to cool it. Well, his advisor is his wife.
and his
so,
Australian astrologer.
So I mean, that's a bit wishful thinking there, Hugo, I would have thought, because she's leading from the front when it comes to this, and that's part of the problem. And for the royal family, it is the issue. And if they do strip them of their title, I mean, you can bet your bottom dollar that there will be someone who will be going after every dollar that she can get and will have no hesitation in dishing yet more dirt. So it's going to be it's a headache for the king as far as this is concerned. Because while they were told not to exploit their royal connection, well, we know full well that that's exactly what they have done right from the start. And she is permanently wanting to call herself Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. And this whole programme we've seen was all about the 2 or 3 British Christmases that she was part of, and if she suddenly knew about the cracker experience. I mean, I've been folding arms for my cracker pulling all my life, and I'm pretty sure, Hugo, you've probably done the same thing. But she suddenly is the expert on British Christmases. Give me a break. I mean, I'm sorry, and that's part of the problem. She hated being here, yet she's entirely dependent on her British connection for her entire raison d'etre. And that's what I find so objectionable. But the king is he's between a rock and a hard place as to what to do about it. And I'm not sure I know the right course of action to deal with the problem that is the Sussexes.
I mean, Hugo, Rupert makes such a great point. When we think about Meghan Markle Christmas, it's 2019. Her not allowing the Queen to spend Christmas with Archie because she's in Canada scheming, building SussexRoyal.com, building their list of demands, claiming on their website that they're only going to work with grassroots media going forward, Harper's Bazaar, Oprah Winfrey, et cetera, et cetera. When I think of Christmas and Meghan Markle, I think of utter destruction. And she's on this Christmas special acting like she spent years and years of her life in the United Kingdom culture when she spent 2 Christmases there. She's not been a working royal longer than she was a working royal.
I'm completely with you. I wonder, though, if they did take the titles away, whether at the same time a lot of their influence and pulling power in the media would also disappear. I suspect it would. I think people are a bit of a sucker for those Duchess of Sussex titles and things. They get her onto the program and so forth. So I think
But if she's willing to claim racism, if she's willing to say outlandish things, which we know we've seen from her before in times of desperation, is that a bigger concern for the royal family?
Well, because I wonder how much else she's got to say, frankly. She's been separated from them for such a long time. I think a lot of things have already come out. I think she might have something up her sleeve, but
I'm not even
would we
saying
believe
it's
her?
real. I don't they have shown me their ability to be dishonest.
Oh,
So I'm
yes.
not suggesting she has anything of value to share, but she does seem to threaten the royal family in the Cut interview when she says she stumbled across a diary in Frogmore Cottage as she was moving out of it, and that she didn't sign an NDA. To me, that was a veiled threat to the royal family that she could find more to say. But I don't, I mean, I think that she would be dishonest if she had to. That's my personal opinion.
Quite likely. I
Quite
don't know.
likely.
I still think we're going to get bored with them at some point. I mean, I'm pretty bored already, but there's going to be a point when the rest of the world are going to get bored with them. At the moment, there's still a soap opera element about it. How long can it go on? I mean, how long can you keep these episodes coming? It's a bit like a genuine soap opera. They get pretty thin towards the end, don't they? I mean, if you're going to watch, let's say, a wonderful film like Crocodile Dundee, watch Crocodile Dundee 1. Don't bother to watch Crocodile Dundee 2. Watch Crocodile Dundee 1 all over again. It's much better because the sequels never really work. And
Yeah.
we're very much into sequel time with the Sussexes, in my view.
Wow, I think that's my first Crocodile Dundee reference here on the Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered channel. Rupert, are you a Crocodile Dundee fan?
It was a very entertaining film, but yes, I suppose any sequel is always at pains to. They're running out of ideas, and we saw it. The testament to those ideas are in this Christmas holiday program, because when Naomi Osaka, a decent tennis player, is confronted with a broccoli reef and something that was designed with some hummus bought from a shop, drizzle some olive oil, and sprinkle something chili on it, well, blow me down. I think we can all manage to do that, however bad a cook you are, that you can all manage to chop up some vegetable and buy some hummus and open some olive oil. I mean, if that is the level that we're going to being told in this program, then help me God. I mean, that is the
Rupert,
problem.
that looked like a hostage situation. That entire Naomi
What?
segment, if I were them, I would have cut it out completely. Did you agree?
Yeah, and the thing is, she's such an interesting. I cover tennis, well, as you know, that's why she missed an opportunity with the Serena Williams interview in her podcast series, because she could have had something could have been resonated and been really interesting. But as we know, it's always I. And Naomi Osaka must have been thinking, "What the heck am I doing here? I'm confronted with some raw vegetables," because they hadn't met before. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Wait, do you know
Um,
how many times she said I in 56 minutes?
you can shoot.
99.
Oh, that's
99.
that's quite a lot. It's
No, I
56
couldn't.
minutes. That's oh goodness me. Um,
A lot.
that is a lot. That
Then,
is
of course,
self-centered.
there was, of course, then the very funny moment when Prince Harry came out of the cupboard, and came around the corner and they kissed. I mean, I don't know how many people kiss their wives when they come out of the cupboard and meet them in the kitchen. I mean,
Well,
it must have been like, can't do it again. When we're filmed, we're always made to do it several times.
Yeah, like
well, and also
we're
those
glad
poor.
we're glad that Meghan finally unlocked the door and allowed you some sunlight, Prince Harry.
And also, what's worse, it's not even in their own house. And
No.
then he's made those people wear those hideous pajamas. I mean, I'm sorry. He just the whole thing. I don't think Hugo we're necessarily the target market, but I'm
I
not actually
agree.
convinced. I'm not actually convinced though. Who is the target market?
Meghan
That's the
Markle,
problem.
Meghan Markle watching herself over and over again. Let's end on a high note. The Prince and Princess of Wales shared a gorgeous new portrait. It was like Christmas card perfection. Catherine lights up the frame in a striking blue gown that Rupert mentioned earlier, our fashionista, and a rare tiara that Prince Albert, like you said, had designed. Prince William stands proudly by her side, and the royal world is completely buzzing over how polished and glamorous the photo is. I have never seen, well, I guess I haven't seen in quite some time, a photo shared of these two as much as I saw on my feed last night of them standing in front of that Christmas tree before attending the state banquet. Hugo, not even a Meghan Markle Christmas special could keep Catherine off the cover of almost every single front page today in the UK. Does that surprise you?
No, it doesn't. Of course it doesn't, because Catherine is the big superstar of the royal family, and she looked absolutely amazing. We know also, of course, she's invested with this extra kind of aura of somebody who has been through a lot of illness and has got better, because she's out and about the whole time now. And I've always thought that with the royal family, every now and again they have to dress up like that and put on their tiaras and their orders and decorations to remind us that they are slightly different. Fine, they can go out and be informal on their engagements, and they can sit with the kids and play and wear blue jeans or open shirts, but they've got to dress up like that every now and again and just remind us that they are special. It's just a dream, frankly. It's amazing.
Rupert, what did you think when you saw that photo of Catherine?
Amazing. Well, I mean, the history of the tiara is a sort of, because I'm always amazed. These tiaras, and Hugo, you're an expert on these things. There's just a plethora of these amazing creations locked away somewhere. Well, you've probably seen them all, Hugo, but I haven't been anywhere near them. So I'm very jealous of you, having seen. But there must be just, it's like, oh, which one do I wear now? Sort of thing. Most of us, but the thought process of
Yes.
everything that goes into a state visit. It's not just you and I are probably thinking, right, have I got an iron shirt? Right? Well, I don't know, but you might be a bit more organized than I am, Hugo. But in every detail, nuance of probably what medals they're wearing, it's all, from top to bottom, it is someone has planned every detail of that state visit down to what each member of the royal family is wearing, the royal women, what they're wearing. I mean, it's not just let's go to the cupboard. Someone has dragged something from some vault somewhere to put it on. And that's what's so magnificent about this occasion. One question I do have, Aston Villa were playing last night during the match. I wonder if William was sneakily looking at his phone, keeping an eye on the score, because luckily we won. I'm a season ticket holder at Aston Villa. But anyway, that aside, they both look magnificent. And you're right, Hugo. The royal family needs the stardust that the Princess of Wales brings to proceedings, because they need her. That's we get eyeballs. It's a lot of pressure on her. Let's not forget, Hugo, and she, that actually, when that you are the one they all want to see, with all due respect to William, the King, Queen Camilla, when she turns up, she's the star of the show. And that's what the Duchess of Sussex just couldn't cope with. The fact that she was never going to be in the spotlight like Princess of Wales. And last night we saw her at her gleaming best with that, as I say, quite spectacular tiara.
Hugo, did you have any last words before we tell everyone goodbye?
Well, I think look out for the Westminster Abbey Carol service when it comes on the television. I think it comes just before Christmas, because that's what Christmas is really all about. It's about sharing, it's about respecting people, it's about remembering the Christmas story, of course, and all those things. It's not about
wrapping a bottle of wine in a silk scarf that costs more than the bottle of wine.
Exactly. I didn't want to say it, but
I will.
Yes, and I thought the state visit. I mean, Rupert was saying the third one this year. I mean, they're really pulling the stops out, and I mean, St. George's Hall. You've been there, Kinsey, and you know what it's like when it's full of fantastic people, and it's amazing. I mean, and the atmosphere, you can't beat it. As I said, when President Trump came over, however powerful he is, he can't produce a castle built by William the Conqueror originally.
That's so true.
Can't beat it.
You can't. All right, agree with us, disagree with us. Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. Go buy a book by Hugo Vickers for Christmas. I think that should be on everyone's holiday gift guide. Hugo Vickers, just type it into Amazon and grab what you can. Rupert Bell, you and I have a date every Monday, so I look forward to seeing you again very soon on Airs and Spares. Thank you all so much for watching, and happy holidays. We look forward to seeing you again very soon.